guys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. Where's the time gone? The weeks seem to be absolutely flying in, and the nights are definitely getting shorter. I was out with the dogs about what time? About 9:30 tonight, and it was pitch black. I always think they need to really recalibrate the seasons, they need to recalibrate the seasons and the months, because we seem to get better weather in September and October, and we get real shit weather in January, February. So what they need to do is we need to move the months back. So January and February will become November and December, and September and October will become July and August, something like that. Does that make sense? I think it does. Anyway, how are you? Ugh. You know what I've done? I think I've put sugar into my coffee instead of putting it in my daughter's tea. I've put it into my coffee. Never mind. Anyway, how the hell are you? I hope you're all doing well. I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. Like I said, it's been a quick week at work. It's been pretty pandemonium at work, to be fair. But it's all good. It's all really good. Run. There we go. Run. Yeah, I've been running. I have been running, and you know what? Touch wood, it's still a slow progress. Slow progress. I've been out. I went out and done 4 miles tonight with my mate, and I mean it's not fast. It's probably it's probably 9.5 minute miles. It's not quick at all. But you know what? When I consider that, a month ago I couldn't run 100 yards. And I really do put it down to I've stopped drinking cow's milk. I've seen a month ago it was more than that. I've not touched cow's milk for I think probably 2 months, 2.5 months, and I really didn't think that cutting out such a small amount of something in a diet could really make a big difference. Because I don't drink glasses of milk. I am partial to a latte or whatever. So I've cut all them out, and touch wood, that's me now. I've done what? Archie! Kicking the bloody thing into the floor. I didn't think that cutting out just a small amount of something could actually make a difference. But like I said, touch wood, I've done 4 or 5 runs, and I've felt great. So I can certainly see my trousers are getting a bit looser again. I think my face is looking a wee bit slimmer again as well. So no, I'm delighted, absolutely delighted with that. So anyway, wait a minute, I've got some topics up here. I've not got a massive amount to talk about apart from the questions. But one of my mates, Richard. I don't know if Richard even watches the channel. He might do. Let me know, Richard, if you do. He's one of the computer club guys. Now, I've been mentioning a few times, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, have you sold any computer games or hardware and regretted it? And I don't think I've ever sold any, hardware as such or video games as such. But one things that I got rid of, it's actually more, it was probably longer than I thought it was about 10 years ago. I decided to start collecting these little LED handhelds that came out in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, all your wee Space Invader machines and all that. And I think I amassed about, I don't know, I keep thinking 30. I don't think I had as many as 30, but I mean, I must have had, I reckon, easily between 20 and 25. And here's the thing, I managed to pick them up for not very much money. I mean, a couple of them cost, I don't know, maybe cost 25, 30 quid. But the majority of them were like 10, 12 pounds. Some of them were even cheaper than that. And so, I decided to sell them, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. And because they were sitting in a loft. They were in my loft. I didn't have any room for them. I wasn't playing them. Because as much as I love them, they're kind of gimmicky. You're not going to want to sit and play it constantly. But so they were in the loft. They were sitting doing nothing, and I was needing money. It might have been actually to buy my main cab. So that was 2014. Yeah, that's 2014. I got my main cab. So yeah, that would be when I sold them. So that would be about 7 years ago. And anyway, I sold them all. I said I had about maybe 25 of them. I sold them all for 200 quid. And you know, that was it. I was delighted to get 200 quid for them, and you know, I didn't think any more of it. Got my main cab, love my main cab, don't regret it at all getting it. But yeah, just over the last, I don't know, last couple of years, I think, I've seen videos of them, I've seen people selling them, and if I don't mind admitting, I've actually felt quite sad. I thought, why did I get rid of these? Why did I sell them? You know, yeah, that's the one thing, I really wish I hadn't done. So anyway, yesterday or the day before, I think it was, Richard messaged me. He says, oh, by the way, have a look at this. And he sent me an advert in Facebook, and it was a guy selling a couple of them for a decent price. I mean, they were 50 quid for 2 of them. 3 of them, I should say, which isn't a bad price at all. I thought, oh, you know what? Stuff it. I'm going to contact him. So I contacted the guy, and it turns out he lived about 10 minutes away from me. So I went up to his house, bought them. I'm not going to let you see them. No, I'm going to make a video of them. But however, he gave me the 3, or I bought the 3. He gave me another thing. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's an old PC video game hardware by a certain company that made the VIC-20, the C64, and the... Actually, stop kicking things. You've been warned. And a certain Amiga. So you've probably guessed what company it was. So he said, look, I've got this. Do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. So, I don't know. I don't think it's worth a huge amount of money, but it's probably quite a rare little piece. So, yeah, I've got 4 of them there. I've got the 3 plus that thing. So, anyway, that has started a bit of an addictive thing with me. I've probably bought about another 4 in the last couple of days. And I've actually just messaged. I see somebody's selling about, I don't know, about 10 of them, and I've actually messaged them on eBay and made them an offer for all 10. I kind of feel a wee bit buyer's remorse, but then I'm thinking, well, you know what? It's my money, and if it makes me happy, then who is anybody to criticise me what I do with my money? So yeah, it looks like I'm going to try and start to build up the collection again. I don't think I'm ever going to get as many as I had, because they're just not available. I mean, I spent a couple of hours last night or the night before, I think it was, looking on eBay, just trying to see what there were, or what there was, I should say. And again, the prices in the UK is just, I'm not going to say ridiculous, but the games, they're going for they're probably going for about 4 times what I paid for them, 7, 8 years ago. Now, I know at the moment the old sort of retro gaming collecting thing, we appear to be on the sort of a crest of a wave. Well, the crest of a wave is usually a good thing. It's a good thing if you're a seller, but if you're a buyer, it's not a good thing. Prices are going through the roof. Vectrexes, nobody can afford a Vectrex. Just daft, and I think this is the same. And I do think that, I don't know, I'm probably spending too much money on them, because the chances are I'll probably not get my money back. But I don't know. But you know what? Money is for spending, and if you can't treat yourself now and again to something, then what's the point of working? That's what I say. It's my money. I'm not depriving anybody. And I'm not, don't get it wrong, I'm not spending like a ridiculous amount. But anyway, yeah, that's my LED games collection. I keep saying LCD, but it's LED, I think it is. Or is it LCD liquid crystal? I can't bloody remember. Somebody else can tell me. Right, another sort of thing I was going to touch on. There was a thing that kind of popped up on the YouTubes, and it was an emulator called Duck Station, DUCK, Quack Quack Duck Station, on the Xbox Series X, I think it is. And yeah, basically this guy had a video of games running at like 4K resolution, and I was like, oh my, that looks bloody awesome. Now I know, I think I mentioned it in my live stream, or was it the last waffle? I can't remember. And a couple of people said, yeah, old news. We've been doing that on a PC for years. We know you PC owners with your fancy bloody graphics cards. Graphics card that costs probably 10 times the price of a bloody console. We know that you can do things much better than any console person. But, you know, bollocks to that. I want to be able to play something like that sat on my couch on my 55-inch TV. So I got talking to Del Boy, who's basically my, he's a mate, and he knows his kind of technology and whatnot. So I had a chat with him, and I was telling him about, you know, I quite fancy getting one, but you can't afford to get one. And he's like, well, why didn't you get a Xbox S? And, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm maybe going to have a look at it. And then I said to Del, do you think you can, well, basically the way it works, and I'm not going to do a video on it because there are much better people out there that can do better videos than I am when it comes to these tutorials. But basically what you have to do is Microsoft, any of the Microsoft Xboxes from Xbox One up the way, there's a thing called developer mode. And what you do is you basically go on, you fill in a few forums. It's completely legal. You fill in a few forums. You download the dev mode application onto your Xbox. You run it. Then what you do is you then basically go to your PC, go into this website, and you register. When you run the app on the Xbox, it comes up with a wee code, and what you do is you go into your PC and you put in the sort of code, the serial code, and that basically registers your Xbox to developer mode. It's £12 plus VAT. It comes to £14.40. But what it does is it basically unlocks the Xbox. Now, what Dell's told me is it unlocks it in sandbox mode. What does that really mean? When I think of sandbox mode, I think of Grand Theft Auto 5. But what Dell's tried to explain to me is it allows you certain features of the console. You know, it doesn't allow you to do everything, because I think that could technically open it up for exploitation and security breaches and all that kind of nonsense. But what it does do is it allows you to kind of run code on it, which is where this thing comes in. So I did that. So what I said to him, do you think it's possible to do it in the Xbox One? He's like, oh, I'm not sure. So we both went away, had a look, and it turns out you can. And I did. So what I've done is I've got RetroArch running on my Xbox One. Now, to be fair, I don't ever play my Xbox One, so it's now got a new lease of life. I've got RetroArch in it. Now, if you don't know what RetroArch is, it's basically a collection with a kind of front end. The front end's not the greatest. It's not like Launchbox or anything like that at all, but it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. And it's basically just a series of hundreds of emulators. You know, your normal Spectrums, your ZX 81s, maybe there is, your Mega Drives, your SNESes, your Dreamcasts, GameCubes, MAME, you name it, RetroArch is going to cater for it. So what you do is you install that. Once you get this dev mode thing, you FTP, you download RetroArch on your PC, then you FTP it across to your Xbox One, and then you can then run it on the Xbox. Now, what I've done is I've got a spare 2 terabyte USB drive. Now, according to the instructions, you've got to format it in, is it exFAT or something it's called, or FAT32. Now, my one was it was NTFS, and I didn't want to format it because I already had all the ROMs in it. So I plugged it in, and it works. So there you go. Take it from me, it does work with NTFS drives. So I've plugged this thing in, and yeah, I can now run all my emulators. It takes a wee bit kind of setting up. What you want to do, you want to do it, get it to scan folders. So scan, your SNES folder, scan your Mega Drive folder. It's very slow. I mean, very, very, very slow indeed. To do, it takes, I don't know why it takes so long. It takes maybe about a minute to scan each file. So if you've got 700 files, it's going to take a couple of hours anyway to kind of go through it. So it does take a while, but once you've scanned it, then at the side it will come up like Mega Drive, and when you move to the right, you'll see a list of Mega Drive games. So it doesn't take that long. It takes a wee while initially to set it up, but once it's working, it just works. So this DuckStation, I downloaded that separately, and yeah, I thought to myself, well, given this DuckStation thing was running on an Xbox Series X, I'm running it on what is effectively outdated hardware. I mean, the Xbox One, I think, is about the equivalent of a PlayStation 4, so it's not going to be a slouch. It's definitely not a slouch. So I wasn't really expecting very much, performance-wise. So I loaded a couple of games, and there's a resolution. It's set to 1, obviously. I banged it up to 9 times, which is apparently 4K. And blimey, it just runs perfect. I mean, I think it's running at 60 frames a second. You can run it as far as 9 times as 4K, and you can run it up to 16. I think it is 16 resolution. So I did that, and yeah, it works perfectly. But what I've done is I've knocked it back down to 4K. I don't see any point. I mean, my TV's a 4K TV, so I think if you put it above 4K, you're not going to get any difference. Not all of the graphics. It doesn't upscale everything. You guys will probably know better than me. It'll take certain like sprites and make them super sharp. Some of the polygons for like the sort of background are still a bit blurred, so I don't really know exactly how it works. Like I said, there's going to be more technically proficient people than myself that could probably explain what it does, but trust me, it does look awesome. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing this week. Been messing about with my Xbox One, giving it a new lease of life as well. So that is superb. So listen, I'm going to stop for a quick drink of my tea, and then I'm just going to crack on with some questions. So excuse me a second. Oh, it's got sugar in it. Right, anyway, down the rabbit hole. I recently asked Steve Benway, and I'll ask you also, when you play games for YouTube, you rarely seem to check the instructions. So do you ever feel you're missing out with some of the more complex games like E.T. on the Atari 2600 or Wing Commander? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kev. Now, the reason I don't read the instructions is because I'm usually playing these games in a live stream or, making a video. Now, I don't really have time, because when I'm doing the live streams, people will pick the games, and I don't really want to have to sit and look at the instructions. Here's the thing. If you're playing an 8-bit game or a 16-bit game, even a console game, chances are it's going to be pretty much pick up and play. An 8-bit game is going to have one fire button. So how complicated can it be? Yeah, if you're going to play something like Elite, then you're going to have to look at the instructions. But so that's really why I don't bother. I don't really think you have to read the instructions. And the fact is, when I'm in a live stream, I don't want to say, right, hang on a second while I look at these instructions. However, there has been times where I've basically made a bit of a fool of myself trying to play a game, and then you look at the comments and people are like, you press up with fire button to do that. I'm like, oh, right, okay. So when I've been making, what do you call it, Arcade Perfect My Arses or 8-bit Face-Off Kerfuffles, I have been looking at the instructions, because I think to myself, well, if you're going to be playing a game and kind of talking about it, and I mean, I don't think I've ever reviewed a game. I don't review games on my channel. I'll just play them and kind of see what I think. I think to myself, well, I've got to at least know what I'm doing, because I've seen certain video channels who shall remain nameless playing a game and then actually saying the game is complete and utter shite, even though they don't actually know what they're supposed to do. So I think that is very, very unfair. You can't possibly rate a game if you don't read the instructions. You know, that's obvious. But yeah, because I play these games in a live stream kind of scenario, Kev, I don't really read the instructions. There have been occasional times where I'm trying to play a game and I can't get it started. Excuse me, pardon me. I'll maybe glance at the instructions, but in the main, Kev, no, I don't. And it's not because I'm trying to be some smart arse or, you know, I don't need to read instructions. It's just because it takes up too much time. But if I was to play a game for fun, then I do read the instructions. Trust me, I do. And secondly, we all have our favourite game of all time in our minds, but could a modern game come along that might replace it? Well, I mean, I don't know what my favourite game is. It would probably have to be like Robotron, Berserk, Defender, Sensei Soccer. You know, I couldn't really name a specific game. But could a modern game come along that might replace it? Absolutely, Kev. Absolutely. I mean, I know I don't really play sort of many modern games, especially the fact that you can't buy the damn things. You know, I want a PlayStation 5. You can't buy it, even though it's a year old. What is going on? Sort it out, retailers. Yeah, I mean, right now there is not a modern game that I could say has become my favourite game. But that's not to say that won't happen. Not at all. You know, I mean, there have been some modern games, like I say, I keep going on about it. The Last of Us. I've got The Last of Us 2, but I've never really played it. The Last of Us, I think, is an absolute landmark game. It's just an epic game. You're talking about modern games, I'm going to say Half-Life and Half-Life 2, especially Half-Life 2, I think, is an absolute stunning, that's got to be in my top 10 video games. It's an amazing game. So yeah, it could, absolutely, Kev, but right now, no, there's nothing to remove, dethrone, Robotron, etc. So anyway, Kev, thank you very much. And Mr. Ian Hunter, how the hell are you, Ian? It's always nice to see you jumping in. Hey, Alan, you haven't mentioned your guitar for a while. Are you ready to perform a face-melting solo for us yet? I'm still shite, by the way, if it makes you feel any better. Funny you should mention that, Ian. It was one of my mates, Andy. Andy's a lead singer of a band. Andy is an absolutely amazing guitarist, and it was Andy that he made me want to pick up a guitar again, and that's the reason I bought it. In fact, it's Andy's guitar. I bought one of Andy's guitars off him. I was out with Andy a couple of weeks ago in Edinburgh, and he said to me, "How's the guitar playing going?" And I'm like, so what was that? He went, "How's the guitar playing going?" I went, he went, "You're not playing, are you?" And I went, "No." Like me, I've got, like me or don't like me. No, I mean, I've got, like everybody else, I've got so many things I want to do in my time. I'm conscious, I'm not getting any younger. And it's what did I not do? I mean, I always laugh when people talk about being bored or what. I honestly couldn't say, I wouldn't even be able to tell you the last time I was bored. When you've got a room like this with, you know, probably about 1,000 games over there, 20, 30 consoles in this here, a PC riddled with games, I'm never going to be bored. I've got films, I've got hundreds of DVDs, and I'll never ever be bored. I've got loads of friends, never be bored. So there's just I've got too much I want to do and not enough time to do it. And I hate to say the guitar has been one of the sort of the victims of that. I did actually take it downstairs maybe 2 months ago, and I plugged it in and I went on YouTube, and there's a really good Justin Guitar, he's called, a really good YouTuber, teaches you how to play the guitar, and I did a couple of hours with it, and I've not done it since. And I I am kind of disappointed in myself, but then you know what? It's like I've got YouTube. I mean, I've hardly put out a video this week. I don't know where the time's going. Apologies for that. I promise you, I'll get videos done for next week. I mean, I've been banging out a couple of these little music videos. I've got, I've got 1, 2 videos half done. I've got so much. I've got so many ideas for videos. It's not a question of lack of having content. It's a question of lack of time. I promise to get more videos put out. So yeah, I think, and again, I've started to run as well now, and the running is very, very important to me. I want to kind of keep that going. So yeah, it's a question of what do I give up. Right now, I don't want to give up YouTube, and I certainly don't want to give up my running. So I don't want to get rid of the guitar. I am a hoarder. There's no question of that. I don't like to get rid of things because I think I might want it. It's interesting. I was talking to Dale, and Dale's got a humongous collection of comics and DVDs. I'm not going to tell you how many DVDs he's got, but I almost fell over. My chin hit the floor when he told me how many DVDs he had. And I was, we were talking about, I said to him, you've got literally millions of comics. You're never going to read them all. He went, I know. I says, why do you have them? And he said something which kind of resonated with me. He said, I like to have them in case somebody else wants them. And I thought to myself, that is a massive reason. I've got so much stuff. It's not a question of you're wanting to show off to anybody, because quite frankly, I've not got any friends that are even remotely impressed with what I do, my YouTube channel, my games, whatever. But I love the fact that I've got things here. I love the fact that if somebody said to me, oh, you know what, I used to love playing School Days in the Spectrum. Hang on a second, do you remember this? And bring out my Spectrum. I just love having all this stuff to hand. I think it definitely kind of harks back to when you're a kid and you wanted all these toys and the LED games and all that kind of stuff, and you couldn't. Your mum and dad says, well, you're not getting them, we can't afford it, and so you didn't get them, and it was simple as that. So yeah, now that I've got kind of disposable income, I can go and buy all these things. Yeah, so that's kind of part of the reason that I like to have these things. It's not to show off. It's just I like the fact that if somebody, I love seeing people's faces. I've had people come into my house to buy stuff in Gumtree, maybe video games, and I've said to them, look, come up and have a look at my games room. And maybe that's a bit stupid because I'm potentially showing people what I've got in the house, and they could think, we'll just wait for him to go on holiday. I'll watch the channel and listen to him on a Friday Waffle telling us that he's away on holiday for 2 weeks, and then I'll go and help myself to his Vectrexes. So maybe that's a wee bit kind of daft on my part. But I love seeing people's faces when they see, they see all these games that they remember as kids. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So yeah, getting back to the guitar, no, I haven't, Ian, but I want to hang on to my guitar. I want to think that I'm going to get to a stage where, I don't see myself ever moving on for video games. I really don't. I'm 53 years old. I really don't see me saying, right, you know what, I'm finished with video games. It might get to a point, and I think that will happen. Hopefully not for a few years yet, where I'll decide just to offload all my hardware, all my games and all that stuff, and I'll just use the PC. But hopefully that won't happen for a wee while. So yeah, am I still playing it at the moment, Ian? I'm not, but I absolutely do want to get back to it at some point, So yeah, anyway, thanks, Ian. Right, Ms. Holly Brereton. It's 1982 all over again. You want to buy your family one of these newfangled computer systems. What would it be? That is an awesome question. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to open that to everybody. I'm going to reword it slightly differently. If, supposedly, or I would imagine that most people that probably watch this channel owned a computer at some point, whether it was a BBC, a Spectrum, a C64, a VIC-20, an Atari, whatever, I don't know. If you could, knowing what you know now, and about each machine, and you could go back to 1982, and your mum and dad had won the lottery, and it says, look, pick whatever computer you want. What computer would you pick? Would it be the same as the one you got, or would you go for something different? That's a great question, Holly. I mean, very quickly, I am a massive fan. I'm a massive fan of the Atari machines. They're brilliant. They're fast. They've got good processors. They've got amazing colour. The only downside is they've got quite pants sprite colours. I don't think they can do multiple sprite colours, whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but if you play some Atari games and compare it with the C64, a lot of the sprites are single colour, and I didn't really know that, and I think it's to do with the hardware. So I do love the Atari. The Spectrum, I've picked a Spectrum back in the day. I love the Spectrum. I really, really do. Would I've picked it back in the day? No. BBC, no. Amstrad, no. It would have to be the C64. It would absolutely have to be the C64. It's still my favourite 8-bit computer. So great question, Holly. So let me know what would you do if you could go back to 1982 and your mum and dad, or whatever age you were, you could basically get whatever computer you wanted. What would you go for? Would it be the Spectrum that you've got, or would it be something different? Let me know. Right, and due to doing a live waffle last week, I had basically 2 sets of questions from previous weeks which I've never answered. So I've got another little bunch from Kev down the rabbit hole. I was playing Wing Commander on the Sega CD last week, and I was met with a horrific Scottish accent played by one of the actors. Surely there must be a game with an authentic Scottish accent in it. Can you think of one? You know what always puzzles me with like films and TV programs? Why when they're making like an American, a series set in New York, do they pick a Scottish person to play an American, or an American to play an Irish person? Whatever. I mean, Pearl Harbor had Ewan Bremner, I think his name is. He played Spud in Trainspotting, and he was playing an American. Now, you can't get any more Scottish than Ewan Bremner, so why would you pick a Scottish person to play an American? To be fair, he played a good part, you wouldn't really have known it. Then you also had, what's the name of the guy that was in Jurassic Park, the young guy, I can't remember what his name is. He played a Southern Irishman in Peaky Blinders. And then there's a programme I'm watching at the moment called Animal Kingdom, which I think is brilliant. And there's the young guy, I can't remember, Finn somebody or another. He played the young guy in Peaky Blinders, and he's in this, and he plays an American. So it always confuses me why. There again, you get Sean Connery playing an authentic Russian. That might not definitely ring true, but anyway. But yeah, to get back on topic, has there been any games? You know what? The only game I can think of, Kev, that's got a Scottish person in it. It was the Wolfenstein series that came out on the PlayStation, Xbox 360. Yeah, there's I can't remember what it's called, Beyond Castle Wolfenstein. I can't remember. It's obviously all the Nazis, etc. And yeah, there's a you're kind of like your sort of sergeant or whatever it is. He is Scottish, but you know what? His Scottish accent is abysmal, absolutely abysmal. The thing is, there's 9 million of us in the planet. So come on, if next time, in fact, here we go. If anybody is making a game, and you want to hear, you want a Scots person to do a bit of voice acting, I'm cheap. Trust me on that one. So yeah, no. Can you think of any that's got an authentic one? Honestly, Kev, I can't. I can't even think. I've never played Wing Commander, and I can't ever think. I can't think of any game that's got a Scottish. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What was I playing? It's just dawned on me. I've only played it a couple of times. Is it Civilization 2? They've got, I wouldn't say it's not so much voice acting. When the level's loading, there's a guy talking, and I think he's proper Scottish as opposed to somebody else pretending to be Scottish. Yeah. Anyway, part 2. Secondly, what's the best game you've ever played that has absolutely no replay value for you? Best game you've ever played that's got no replay value for you? I mean, again, it's one of these games I've kind of upset a few people saying I don't really like it now, and that's not really true. Bruce Lee, I completed that back in the day, but it's not a game that really got any replay value. I mean, I've played it since then, on emulation and that kind of stuff, but as an 8-bit game, I suppose most 8-bit games, if you complete them, they've not got a lot of replay value. I'm trying to think of any other. I would say any, and I've not completed many. I would say any sort of. If I was going to say any kind of modern game, any first-person shooter, you're not going to want to play again. But I would say pretty much any game, Kev, apart from like a sports simulation where you're playing a game, whatever. I would say pretty much any game technically has got no replay value. I mean, I've played Last of Us 3 times, I think. Played it twice on the PS3, played it once on the PlayStation 4, and I played it because it's epic. It's such a good game. It's like watching a film. Some people watch a film and they won't ever want to watch it again because they've seen it. I'm the complete opposite. If I see a film that I really enjoy, I will gladly sit and watch it again. And I suppose technically that's the same my game. I mean, I've played Last of Us 3 times. I've played Half-Life 2, 1 and 2, I think. I've played that quite a few times. I played it on the PC, and then I played it on the Orange Box that came out for the Xbox 360. And finally, have you ever rage quit a game or found one so aggravating you immediately uninstalled it? Yeah, probably more than I can remember, Kev. I mean, like I said, there's been a few games where Bioshock, the first Bioshock Infinity, I got really far in it, almost got to the end, and I simply couldn't get past the last level because I had a tiny wee bit of energy, and it was just going round and round and round in circles, and I ended up uninstalling it or stopped playing it. I can't think of any game that I've only put on briefly and thought that is pants, I'm going to take it off. Now, I would probably say Bioshock and Bioshock Infinity, but there's probably more, Kev. But anyway, listen, thanks very much, Kev. And finally, we've got an absolute doozy from Milthy Swinbuckle. I have to say, Milthy, you, I mean, it's epic, all the questions that everybody comes up with. Guys like Kev, week in, week out, you ask me questions, which is fantastic. But Milthy always comes up with something a wee bit left field, which is always interesting. Milthy is like the proverbial box of chocolates. You never quite know what you're going to get. Hello again, Meister. Question for the next waffle. Bit of a crappy question this week, but it should hopefully jog the old grey matter a bit. So instead of asking you what your favourite 5, 10, 50 or 100 games are, I know you get this question a lot, I thought I'd mix it up a little and ask you to name your second favourite game, be it on any platform, modern or old, for each of the following genres listed below. Right, he's named 16 genres. I'm not going to explain why. I'm just going to try and think. First person shooter. Oh man, that's a tough one. It's going to be. Oh man. That is a tough one. I'm going to say I'm going to tell you the favourite, and then I'm going to tell you the second one. My favourite would be Half-Life 2. My second favourite would be Last of Us. Number 2, realistic driving game. When you say realistic, I take it you don't mean hard driving. You mean something like any modern game. I don't really play any driving games. If I do play, I'm going to throw Ridge Racer as a realistic game. I'm going to say it's realistic for me. I know it's an arcade game. Ridge Racer would probably be my favourite realistic game. Second one would probably be Forza Horizon on the Xbox One. Number 3, vertical shooter. Oh, bloody hell. That is like asking you to pick your favourite child or pick your second favourite child. What would my favourite... I think my favourite... And I know if I got asked this next week, I would change it. I think my favourite shooter is going to be 1942 vertical shooter. My second favourite would probably be... Oh man, Galaxian. Horizontal shooter. My favourite one is going to probably be... I'm going to say Gradius 5 on the PlayStation 2. My second favourite one is going to be R-Type. Running gun platformer. I just want to see what other games the platform. Right, okay, running gun platformer. My favourite is going to be Rolling Thunder. My second favourite is probably going to be, again, I'm trying to think on the hop here, Shinobi. Yeah, Shinobi, arcade Shinobi. Sports game. Non-energetic sports game. Golf, snooker, darts, tiddlywinks. My favourite sports game, let me think. I would probably say Virtual Pool's my favourite. My second favourite would probably be Tiger Woods Golf. Is it 2005 on the Xbox 360? Favourite energetic sports game, football, tennis, Olympic. Well, track and field, 100%. Second favourite one, hyper sports. Oh no, wait a minute. Second favourite would be Sensei Soccer. Number 8, fighting game. Way of the Exploding Fist is my first one. Second favourite is going to be Ya Kung Fu arcade. Number 9, a brawl game. Brawl? What's a brawl game? Is that not a fighting game? Like Tekken or something? I don't really play brawl games. I'm going to assume brawl games are like Tekken. I don't know. I would say favourite is going to be Street Fighter 2, and Tekken 2 in the PlayStation is going to be my second one. Number 10, puzzle type game. Tetris, 1,000,000,000% is my favourite. Second one, Zookeeper. Zookeeper on the Nintendo DS. 11, platformer. My favourite platformer is going to be... I think it's going to be Manic Miner. And probably Bounty Bob Strikes Back is number 2. Mouse controlled or paddle type game. Favourite's going to be Arkanoid on the Amiga. Second favourite is going to be Marble Madness on the Amiga. 13, top-down driving game. My favourite is going to be oh Christ, what the hell do you call it? Oh, Skid Marks. Yeah, Skid Marks, but it's going to be the demo that Amiga Power gave out, because that had the most perfect handling. So the demo of skid marks on the Amiga would be my favourite one. Second favourite would probably be Super Sprint on the Atari ST. Realistic flying type game. I don't really do flying games. I'm going to go for Pilot Wings as my favourite on the SNES. And secondly, I'm going to go for, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't play flying games. I'm going to go for Pilot Wings on the 3DS. Number 15, a game that contains multiple genres. My favourite's obviously going to be Way of the Exploding Fish, but yeah, that will be my favourite. Multiple genres, it's got to be Beachhead. Beachhead on the C64 is a classic game. Second place would be Beachhead on the Spectrum. No, I'm trying to think of any other. I'd probably say Raid Over Moscow, actually. Yeah, Raid Over Moscow would be my second one. And number 16, a game that doesn't fit any of the above genres. Right, we'll go for kind of an unusual game. Rez on the what do you call it, Dreamcast, and Moose Life on the Steam. So there you go. I think that's all the questions. So listen, I'm going to get off to my bed. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be along on Sunday, 1,000,000,000%. I don't know if you watched my Sunday stream last week where I attempted to play my Vectrex. I think it went better than I thought it was going to go, because Vectrexes are notoriously difficult to actually film. So I think it actually worked out pretty well. I think people enjoyed it. I mean, it was a bit of a car crash at times when I was sitting in complete darkness and what have you, and I knocked the camera over and all that kind of bollocks. But you know that by now. You know what to expect from my channel. So anyway, listen, guys, I'm going to get going. I hope you have a really nice weekend. I hope to see you on Sunday. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching.